What up, peeps? In an effort to try to be a little bit more human and not to just fill this channel with jams and stuff, I wanted to speak briefly about why I decided to sell my Volca Modular. And so I purchased the Volca Modular in June of 2020, and it was a really fun journey. However, some journeys have to come to an end. And since I've been intrigued by the whole realm of modular synthesis, I do not have the disposable income for an entire system. I decided to pick up a Volca Modular to fill that need. While there are many solutions online, including VCV Rack, for example, I don't have a reliable computer set up. Really dig into the software and not to have my computer heat up to the point where I can make some toast on the motherboard. Additionally, we all know with VST instruments and setups is that you have to lose the physicality of the instrument in terms of patching. I find using cables to be the whole experience of modular synthesizer, for that matter. But before I start to knock the Volca Modular, I would just like to mention a few points that I really find exciting about the synthesizer. Number one, the sequencer is really good, and I mean comparing to other Volcas, you have a lot of options for creating unique melodies and sequences. For one, the scale mode is top, and the ability to add a tonic variant for even cooler, tuning your system in scales that you've never used before is amazing. And I just think it's such a great feature, you know, putting in by like a step-by-step basis in the step record mode is really cool, and yeah, it's cool. Stochastic feature is great when used with the active step function. You are able to lift yourself from the repetitiveness that you have created by just clicking a button. That's really crazy. Like literally you have a sequence, you take the active step mode, you put 4 maybe steps on, and then you put the stochastic mode, and it wouldn't just repeat the whole time, or wouldn't just bounce. If you use the bounce mode, it wouldn't just bounce from back and forth. The stochastic feature really adds variation to your sequences, which is great. For number 3, you don't need any patch cables to make a sound. Rather, have a grounded connection for you so that patch cables act as a way to alter and change the sound. This helps you understand what each of the sections do. So, unfortunately, I forgot to include this when I sold my unit, but this is the module reference guide right over here, and it will take you a while to understand what each of these do, especially for me, because I was coming into not knowing a lot about modular synthesis. I only have the Bastel Castle to compare that experience to, so this was useful to just like coming up with really simple sequences, and in that respect, I'd just like to have this here. Okay, for number four, it teaches you about modular synthesis in a very inviting manner at both cost and user interface perspective. So it gives you the modules already. If you were to build a modular system, you'd have to go out and find a VCO, a VCA, a function kind of module. And let's say if you want some filters, this one gives you 2 low pass gates, a utility module, a source module that can both fold and provide both ratios and modulation to the modulator and the carrier waves. So yeah, it's really important, to be honest. And if you're building yourself a modular system, that can add up to a lot of money at the end of the day. So just to have all of that in one synth, in one unit at the size that it is pretty incredible. With all that being said, why did I decide to sell mine? For one, if you're getting into modular, you've definitely heard of the term CV, or control voltage. This is the type of language that is used on a modular system for your modules to basically communicate with each other. Unfortunately, in my setup, I only have two units that communicate over CV, and that is the Bastel Castle and the Volca Modular. And so when I wanted to sequence the modular with my computer over MIDI, I wasn't able to, and it was frustrating sometimes, to be honest. I did find online on GitHub making a CV to MIDI converter for the modular. However, with shipping costs and everything, I'm not sure that's quite worth it in my case. The patching experience while patching on the Volca Modular was quite simple. I didn't really enjoy the quality of the cables provided and the holes where you put the cables in. I found that these breadboard holes move around and were a bit fiddly, to be honest, in comparison to something like the Bastel Castle. It seemed less sturdy. It just take me a little bit more time than necessary to make the patches that I wanted because of the fiddliness. Number 3, I bought the Volca for its immediacy, and I felt comfortable to take the Volca wherever I wanted, whether in bed, my studio, on the bus, outside, on the beach. So if you perhaps are in like a moving bus or something, taking cables, the patch cables, in addition to the 3.5mm cables, is just a bit awkward, to be honest. Like it's just a lot of things to look after, and if by chance you drop a cable on a moving bus, like it's just quite annoying. So yeah, that's why I didn't really. Sometimes I would just sit on the bus and create like sequences on my Volca FM. I didn't feel as comfortable doing the same thing with a Volca Modular, and yeah, that's basically something that reduced my wanting to go outside and play with it. Number 4, the sound. Sonically, I didn't enjoy the sound as much, especially in the higher frequencies, as you can make some sweet bass patches from it, but I didn't really like sounds at the higher octaves. It's not terrible sounding at all, it just, I felt it was a bit redundant for me. And the space out reverb sounds good at first, but I feel like you get quite tired of it quickly. And so that means you'd have to go out of your way and buy another reverb pedal or unit or rack mounting unit, and that involves additional prices. And so let's say if you were to buy a Zoom CDR, that would be 80% of the cost of the Volca Modular. And for me, I was about to buy the pedal, but I decided against it. So instead, I got a Chaos Pad for a decent price. It's a really cool combo to use it with the Volca Modular. However, there are only 4 reverb settings on the unit and a couple of delays as well. And yeah, I felt like I got over it quite quickly. So it was really nice. It did sound really nice with the reverb filter one. However, the other ones were okay. When I'm making videos on recording my synths outside and outdoors and stuff, I don't want to dupe my viewer by putting in reverb VSTs on the audio afterwards. Like, I rather just have the reverb unit with my synth while I'm recording at the same place, you know. I just kind of want to show what it's like to have a setup outside, and not to do editing that you can, you know, in your DAW afterwards, or even in whatever type of video editing program. There are settings to put reverb or compression or something on that voice, but I don't want to do that. So yeah, for point number 5, I might just be dreaming on this point, but I think the modular goes through batteries quicker than my Volca FM, and maybe it's just because I have longer sessions with the Volca Modular, because patching and everything takes more time than, let's say, creating a patch on Dext for my Volca FM and then loading that patch into my Volca FM, or just taking some random DX7 patch, loading it into a SysX librarian, then throwing it onto my Volca FM, and then making a sequence on my Volca FM, and then recording it just like that. It's with patching for the Volca Modular, it takes some time, and maybe that's why I would just go through batteries quicker on it. Number 6, when chaining sequences, the bounce and stochastic modes are turned off. I found this to be quite annoying in my opinion. I love those features in the modular sequencer, however, I wanted to make a longer pattern with those features were disabled, and quite frankly, it's a shame. Also, I would like to see a backwards mode too. They did implement it for the bounce to work. Just to have one that's just backwards, that would be key. Yeah, so it would have been cool to see a backwards feature as well. Yeah, so I hope I gave you some insight on what you might face while owning a Volca Modular. I think it's a great synth at a good price, and I do not regret buying it or selling it for that matter. Because of that experience, rather, I had clarity on what I would want in my studio. And yeah, if you do own a Volca Modular, I would like to hear your opinions down below. If you don't own a Volca Modular and maybe this video helped you in deciding whether or not you want to buy one. And yeah, with that being said, peace, love, stay filthy. I'm out.